Hey there. After coaching hundreds of women through weight loss during menopause, I've realized intermittent fasting is not simply a one-size-fits-all strategy. Some women thrive with it, and some women are unknowingly hurting their progress. Today, I want to help you understand when intermittent fasting works, when it doesn't, and the 3 things you must pay attention to if you want fasting to actually help your metabolism instead of hurting it. If we have not met yet, my name is Nicole Dalton. I have been a physician assistant for 25 years now, turned menopause weight loss coach. I specifically help women 40 and over lose weight. And I do this in a simple, sustainable approach. We focus in on how we eat, how we exercise, and how we get our mindset in the right place. I call this my Core 3 system, and it's a very individualized approach to your unique needs. This is intended only for educational purposes. Even though I am a medical provider, I am not your medical provider. It should not replace the advice from your medical provider. Okay, let's dig in here. So, intermittent fasting. Let's talk through it. So I used to think that intermittent fasting was like the golden ticket. It was very helpful in my weight loss journey, and I still use it to this day intermittently. Okay, so I've learned a lot the last few years with coaching women in their weight loss journeys. And I want you to understand why intermittent fasting has become so popular. When I first heard about intermittent fasting years ago now, I really thought it was a fad diet. I thought it was just another fad diet coming through. But what I've learned through the years is that it can be used as a great tool to help with our metabolic health. So it's doing a lot of things internally to help us become healthier. The biggest term you may have heard or may not have is a term called autophagy, okay? Autophagy is basically our body cleaning up its garbage cells, okay? So after a 12-hour fast or more, then our body is reaping the benefits of this internal autophagy process, okay? But don't worry if you're not fasting, because your body is also doing this with exercise. Exercise is also a great way that our body uses autophagy to kind of clean up those garbage cells. So let's start with why intermittent fasting has become so popular. One, it's just simple, okay? So don't make it overcomplicated, okay? Make it very simple. You can pick just an eating window of 6 to 8 hours that you know that you're going to eat, and then a certain window that you're going to fast or not eat, okay? So many women find that like a 12 to 6 or a 12 to 7 eating window works best for them. A lot of women just aren't super hungry in the morning, and that's okay. So you can start eating at noon, okay? So it's just simple. And you know, I'm eating between these hours, right? And there tends to be less snacking and grazing because you know we have a short window to eat in. And it also helps to reduce mindless eating, right? Like if we know that we're only going to be eating within 6 hours, we tend to not be snacking and mindlessly eating as much, okay? And it's easier in the fact that you only have to plan for 1 or 2 meals a day, right? Instead of 3 meals plus a couple snacks. So some women find it just saves them a lot of time with sitting down for meals, with prepping meals, with planning meals. Sometimes it's just simpler, right? And it can also improve insulin sensitivity. Naturally eat fewer calories without tracking. So if you're someone who feels like you are overeating or eating too much through the day, having this simple time frame will allow you to just cut your calories, be more in a calorie deficit, even without tracking your foods, okay? But here's the problem. Many women start fasting and think it's the only answer, but they ignore the foundations of metabolism, okay? And that's where I see women getting stuck. So now let's dig into the second thing we have to be aware of, okay? Why fasting can stop working, okay? The first point here is some women use fasting as another form of restriction, and I don't want you to do that. I feel like so many women have been told to eat less and move more. And so many women that I work with are actually not eating enough because they've been trying to restrict their calories for so many years, trying to diet and lose weight, that they're not even eating enough. And so I don't want you to use this as another form of restriction if you're not eating enough. Okay, so we have to get curious about that piece. And so many women binge later at night. So if you have a history of binge eating, then intermittent fasting actually might not be the best option for you, because what I see is so many women are restricting so much through the day. And then by the time they are eating, they're starving, and then they end up overeating and binging later in the evening or the night, okay? And also, one thing we have to be careful with is if you're an all or nothing kind of gal, so intermittent fasting sometimes can get in the way of that all or nothing mindset too, because you feel like you're either fasting or you're not. And if you have a day that it just doesn't work out, and then you stop, right? So it can play some mind games with us. So we just have to be careful and just get curious and be cautious about that piece with intermittent fasting. If your fasting window causes obsession around food or overeating later, then it's definitely not helping your relationship with food, okay? The second point why fasting may stop working is macros, nutrition. This part is huge, okay? So many women will fast all morning, but then the problem is they might be under eating protein or fats, and then they over snack with the junk food at night, okay? So you might not be getting enough protein, not enough nutrition and calories, your blood sugar crashes, and then you have low energy, okay? So you cannot starve your way into a healthy metabolism. So if you're going to fast, you have to make sure you're getting all your nutritional needs met during your eating window. Point 3 of why you might be struggling with intermittent fasting working is, and this is the biggest one that I see in menopause, okay? So if you're fasting and not prioritizing strength training and protein, you're actually losing more muscle, okay? So remember, muscle drives our metabolism, and menopause already makes muscle harder to maintain because we're losing it during perimenopause and menopause. And that's called sarcopenia. We're losing it through menopause years. And then with aging, we continue to lose our muscle mass. It's turning to fat, but also we're losing our strength and our independence. Okay. So less muscle also equals less calorie burn, right? And that goes with our basal metabolic rate. So you want to preserve our muscle mass at all costs, okay? So the biggest thing I would encourage you to do is, if you are lifting and fasting and using intermittent fasting, you have to prioritize 30 grams of protein within 30 minutes after exercise in order to build muscle. You have to feed muscle in order for muscle to grow. And if you're not feeding it, it's not going to grow. So many women I talk to are using intermittent fasting, but they're also morning workout gals like me. They'll wake up at 4:30 or 5, get their workout in, but they're not eating until noon. Okay, you're wasting your time and your exercise if you're not eating right after to cause that muscle to grow or hypertrophy. So the biggest takeaway here is, if you're exercising, you have to replace your protein within a half an hour after exercise in order to see the gains that you're working so hard for in your exercise. Otherwise, you're exercising kind of for no reason, because you're not going to see the benefits and reap the benefits of all the hard work you're putting in. Okay. So be careful with that piece. And fasting without building muscle can actually slow your progress long term. So don't miss that piece. Okay. So the last thing I don't want you to miss is I'm not anti-fasting at all. And intermittent fasting can work well. And I think it's great when it's paired with the right foundation. For example, prioritizing protein after workouts, strength training, managing your stress, eating enough food during your eating window, and using fasting as a tool, not as a punishment. Okay, so I personally see women do best with a gentle fasting approach instead of extreme fasting windows. So if you have been frustrated because intermittent fasting isn't working anymore, or you're not even sure where to get started, it just might not be fasting itself that is the issue. The real issue may be your mindset, your macros, or your nutrition, or your muscle. Okay, and that's why I created my Core 3 system specifically for women over 40. If you've not yet taken the quiz to see where you might be struggling at, I'll link that quiz in my show notes as well. If this video helped you, please make sure to hit subscribe, because every week I help women simplify weight loss during menopause without extreme dieting. Comment and let me know below, have you tried intermittent fasting before? Did it help or did it hurt you? Okay, and please hit like on this video. And if you're ready to see what individualized support looks like during your weight loss journey, I would love to hop on a free consult call. That link to schedule is in the show notes. Have a great day.